All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So training camp kicks off tomorrow. I am freaking excited. Jets football is back. The NFL is back. Let's go, dude. Let's freaking go. So many things to kind of get into here. So many different storylines. The first, it goes without saying, right? No injuries. That's obviously like the top of the list for not only just the Jets but for every team. But specifically when I'm diving into the Jets, what to me are like the biggest storylines? What are the things that I'm most looking forward to seeing out of this Jets training camp? The first is, how does Aaron Glenn conduct these practices, right? We've heard, like, Tyson from Let's Talk Jets Radio is talking about this all the time. Like, he just was not a fan of how the Saleh practices were ran. He felt like they were a little too soft. He didn't understand why they would pull the refs out of practice. And the Jets, ironically enough, were one of the most penalized teams in football. It always kind of felt like there was an issue with that. Just strange things. He talks about how certain guys would just get a pass. Doesn't really matter how they're practicing or playing. You're so-and-so, you're this big of a name, you're on this style of a contract, you are this high of a pick, you get a pass. What's the vibe going to be like with Glenn? Is it going to be completely old school? Now, of course, there's new rules with the NFL making it a little bit different, compared to back when he was a player, as far as the practice rules and whatnot go. But will it be maybe overboard, right? Because we've seen some coaches have that, they come in, they're super excited, they're just on fire, they really want to maximize their guys. It really just trying to put their best foot forward, but doing it at an overly aggressive rate. Like, think back to Greg Schiano when he got the job with the Bucks. Someone who just came in, tried to change the culture, did change the culture, but it was just too much. If I had to take a guess on how a Glenn-led practice as a head coach would look like, I'm going to assume there's probably going to be a lot of player encouragement, right? Glenn being vocal, Glenn being active, offense, defense, really kind of being around the football, being in the huddle, just being hands-on, in other words. Also, lots of maybe hard coaching. Like, you're looking at this coaching staff, especially on the defense side of the football, you have multiple former players. You have a guy in Steve Wilkes who's been around the game for a long, long time. We know Glenn's coaching style, just looking back to the clips of Detroit and kind of how players have talked about Glenn on the practice field. I think it's going to be structured. I think it's going to be planned out, which is what I'm really hoping for. I assume that everything that they do is going to have a point to it, and they're not going to be doing things that are just wasting time or just we're going to throw competing out the window. We're going to, have fun today, have fun for the next couple of days. I don't really see a situation like that. Rex Ryan shake weight situation back on Hard Knocks. I don't really see a situation like that either. Detailed, to the point, and everything is done with a purpose, with an emphasis on competing and getting better. That's kind of or I guess maybe in a vocal hands-on matter. That's probably my assumption heading into training camp. The next thing I'm really looking forward to is the running game, right? Both offensively and defensively. On offense here, we know we have good backs. We know we have a good offensive line. We know Tanner Engstrand wants to run the football. We know Justin Fields can run the football as well. We're going to talk about him in a second. But that's going to be the identity of this football team. I have a very hard time, believing that Tanner Engstrand is going to be, looking at this roster, looking at the personnel, talking all off season, and then we're going to come out just like last year and throw it 40 plus times a game, 35 plus times a game. Talk all off season how we want to be this like physical rushing attack, and we just don't do it, and we're just this like pass happy squad. Unless we're just completely shredded on the defense side of the football, I just don't see that happening. So how does this running game look? How is the rushing scheme? What's the percentage going to be with Justin Fields lining up under the center, handing the football off compared to shotgun handoffs? And that's actually a problem that I've had with, former offensive coordinators before in the past. Mike LaFleur actually comes to mind. I didn't mind Mike LaFleur. I thought he did a decent job, just all things considered, looking at what he had to work with and, understanding that Saleh wasn't really helping him out on the offensive side of the football. LaFleur was trying to learn his way as well. But one thing that was just kind of frustrating watching the LaFleur offense, anytime the quarterback was under center, it was a handoff. And if it wasn't a handoff, it was a play action. No 3-step drops, no 5-step drops, no 7-step drops. Like, it just kind of felt very obvious from a defensive perspective. Like, okay, Zach Wilson, Mike White, they're under center. We know what's going to happen. Hackett a little bit too. He was pretty heavy on the play action, like play actions, early calling play action plays early in drives, like on first and second down and whatnot. But in any case, is the Jets offense going to be more so Fields under center handing the football off, or in the shotgun handing the football off, right? I think for me, what I would want to see is a 50-50 split of both. I don't want us to be one-dimensional. I also don't want teams to read us like a book. So I think if you can get under center and defenses are like, it could be a pass, it could be a run, it could be a play action, it could be a lot of things, a quick pass, a big drop, like there's a lot of things that could happen here. It just keeps them on their toes. And then obviously with shotgun, like majority of offenses just run so much shotgun anyway, so defenses are used to it. But yeah, what's the running game going to look like? That's just on offense. And then on defense, if we know the Jets offense is going to be spearheaded by this approach, or we could assume that it is, how does the defense stop it? We don't really have that big primary run stuffer. We did bring in a couple of veterans. We'll see what happens there. I do like our linebackers. I like the ability to play in, for run support and everything like that. But if that is the number one weapon that this Jets offense has, and this seems to be the biggest weakness of the Jets defense, stopping the run, how do these two, sides collide? Is it going to be Jets offensive wins every single drive, every single day in practice, and the defense needs to, adjust and maybe bring in a free agent, or maybe we have someone step up to the plate and maybe start developing and surprising some people? That would be great. So I think for me, it's going to be a pretty fun matchup, right? How does this whole run game dynamic look on both sides of the football? Next up, the development of quarterback Justin Fields. How does he look? How does Justin Fields look from day 1 to day 3 to week 2? Is there this growth in place? Is he going backwards? Up to this point, he never really felt like the Bears coaching staff, even the Steelers coaching staff, even though like Arthur Smith, Mike Tomlin, these guys are more respected than like the Luke Getzes of the world that Fields has had to work with before in the past. You just never felt like a team opened their arms to Fields and said, hey, you're our guy. Even if it's just for one season, here's your runway. Here's a system that fits and is tailored towards your strengths, towards your skill set. And let's just watch you grow. Let's put you in positions to have success. Let's cross out the things that you don't feel comfortable with. We're not going to, ask you to do X, Y, and Z if you feel like you either can't do it or the offense is just going to stall if we do try it. But let's just stick to what works. Let's stick to what Fields feels comfortable with, and looking at what he is good at, highlighting those. Highlighting the arm strength, highlighting the legs, highlighting the escapability, really utilizing that stuff. As opposed to just saying, hey, you're the quarterback here. Here's my system. You run this, please. That was kind of the vibe in Pittsburgh. And, to be honest, Fields was never like in line to be the starting quarterback. That's not really why he was brought in. Of course, Russell Wilson was brought in the same offseason. He was the starter, but he dealt with injuries. So, you're not going to tailor the offense, completely tear it down and bring it back up in a couple weeks to fit Justin Fields for the first month of the season. And you're just like waiting for Russ to get healthy. So, it's not a knock on anyone. It's just, hey, this hasn't happened before in the past, and it is happening here with the Jets. So do we see strides? Do we see maybe bigger jumps in development? Do we see the game slow down for Justin in any sort of way, whether that be in the passing game, whether that be just overall processing, whether it be getting to the line and rattling off plays, understanding the offense? This is a new offense for Justin. And I also think, there's going to be some speed bumps along the way for Tanner Engstrand. He's not going to be putting together A-plus game plan week after week after week, calling, these excellent A-plus games week after week after week, as a first-time rookie offensive coordinator in the NFL. So I do think there needs to be a chemistry there between those two. But it seems like between the three guys right now, Tanner Engstrand, quarterback coach Charles London, and Fields, all three have a really good vibe with each other right now. there's a big emphasis on the GoPro camera and how that is just changing the game. I don't want to, sound over dramatic here. It's just a camera on the helmet, but Tanner Engstrand has really dove into the details, right? It has a microphone so he can see exactly what Fields is seeing. He could see how Fields is calling the play, or I guess hear how Fields is calling the play. Checks at the line. Everything is shown through Fields' eyes. That way Tanner has a better understanding of what he's seeing, why he's doing what, when it comes to day-to-day practices. And we've heard guys like London and Fields talk about how beneficial it is. Just like how this could be a game changer and how Fields hasn't done this before in the past. So, I know it kind of sounds funny here. A GoPro camera, we could all just go out to the store and get one right now, but that could be the key to unlocking Justin Fields' development into a better quarterback, into a potential franchise quarterback. Again, like, I think if you say that to someone on the street, they're like, what? But it's working. Right now it's working, and if it's a tool in your toolbox to potentially get you better, use it. And last but not least, I'm curious to see how the rookies develop. Aaron Glenn has talked a lot about allowing young players to play. We saw that in Detroit. He doesn't really like to clog the lanes for these young players by signing like a cheap 1-year vet and plugging them in and kind of blocking that pathway for a potential starter. And we obviously have a ton of young players, whether it be rookies or second-year guys, but specifically when I'm looking at the rookies, there's a lot of responsibility here. Between the first 5 picks, Armand Membu is going to be the starting right tackle. Mason Taylor is going to be the starting tight end. Azari Thomas could be the first corner off the bench. Malachi Moore could be the potential starting strong safety. Arian Smith is going to be the primary deep threat. That's 5 players here who could potentially see big-time minutes and be impactful pieces, for better or for worse, in this upcoming season. So if we're getting reports that Membu looks worse in week 2 of preseason than he did at the start of camp, that's going to be concerning. If we start seeing weird reports or hearing stuff about Mason Taylor having a drop problem, that would be concerning. But on the flip side, if we're getting reports about positive stuff, Mason Taylor's, consistently getting open. He's consistently beating linebackers and safeties. Membu's holding his own against Will McDonald. He's holding his own against these different, a different skill set of edge rushers, a Rashad Weaver, take your pick, Michael Clemens, McGregor, right? Like, he's out there. He looks like a pro. He's on par with Olu. Like, that's the stuff I'm really excited to hear, right? How is Mawaga picking up the defensive playbook as a defense that wants to run or put a lot of responsibilities on the linebacker position? Is he stepping up to the plate in that regard? Does Tyler Barron look the part as a potential rotational edge rusher? Malachi Moore, is his defensive IQ on display? Is he always around the football? Just small little storylines like that I'm pretty interested in. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Let's freaking go, man. Jets football is back. And as always, go Jets.